On New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2024, my daughter-in-law stood in my living room wearing a dress that cost more than my first car and told me I didn't belong at a party in my own house. "Dina," Savannah said, her voice dripping with that fake concern she'd perfected over 6 years of marriage to my son. "Why don't you go upstairs and get comfortable? You can watch the ball drop on TV. This party really isn't for someone your age." 40 family members, cousins, nieces, nephews, people I'd fed at my table for decades, laughed. Someone in the back yelled, "Make sure you turn on the subtitles for her." More laughter, louder this time. "I'm Idina Menzel. I'm 70 years old. I live in Chicago, Illinois, and I built a real estate empire worth $4.2 million with my own bleeding hands." I smiled. Calm, steady, the kind of smile that should have warned them. "You're right, Savannah," I said. "Something is going to drop at midnight, but we're all going to watch it together. On this screen." I pointed to the 75-inch television my son Thomas had insisted I didn't need because, as he'd said 6 months ago, "Mom, you probably can't even work the remote." Savannah's smile faltered for exactly 3 seconds. "What are you talking about?" my son Thomas asked. He looked tired. He always looked tired these days. "You'll see," I said. "Everyone will see. At midnight. But let me tell you how I got here. Let me tell you about the woman they thought they could erase while I was still breathing. I came to Chicago on September 23, 1979. I was 26 years old with nothing in my pockets but a Greyhound bus ticket stub and my mama's pearls wrapped in newspaper. I'd left Jackson, Mississippi, because there was nothing there for me but dirt roads, and men who thought a black woman's only worth was what she could cook, clean, or birth. My mama, Loretta Mae Menzel, walked me to the Greyhound station at 4 in the morning. The sun wasn't up yet. She pressed those pearls into my hand, the only thing of value she'd ever owned, and said, "Baby, when you get where you're going, you protect what's yours. Don't matter if it's blood asking. You protect what's yours." I didn't understand then. I understand now. Chicago was cold. Colder than anything I'd known. The wind came off Lake Michigan like it had teeth. I found work at Hammond Textiles on the South Side. 12-hour shifts, sometimes 14. My fingers bled from the needles. My back screamed from hunching over the machines. The factory floor smelled like machine oil and sweat, and the dreams of women just like me. Women who came north thinking they'd find something better and learned real quick that better is something you have to build yourself. I made $3.35 an hour. I lived in a room at 427 South State Street, so small you could touch both walls if you stretched your arms out. I shared a bathroom with 6 other women. I ate rice and beans 5 nights a week and saved every penny that didn't go to rent or food. Every New Year's Eve, while other people partied, I sat on my narrow bed with a notebook and counted my money, planned my next move, calculated how long until I could afford something real, something they couldn't take, something that was mine. By March 15, 1982, I had $8,000 saved. Not enough for a house, but enough for a lot. A small lot on the south side at 8247 South Cottage Grove Avenue. Nothing pretty about it. The neighborhood was rough, but I knew 2 things. Land is the only thing they can't make more of, and Chicago was growing. I bought that lot for $6,500, paid cash. The white man at the title office, I remember his name was Gerald Kaufman, looked at me like I'd stolen the money. He counted it 3 times, made me sign the papers twice, kept asking, "Ma'am, do you understand what you're signing?" I understood just fine. That lot is worth $340,000 today. I met William Menzel in February 1983 at Mount Olive Baptist Church. He was an electrician. Good man, steady hands, kind eyes. He never asked about my money, and I never told him the full truth. Not because I didn't trust him, but because my mama's voice was always in my head. Protect what's yours. We got married on June 18, 1984. Had Thomas on March 2, 1985. Had Diana on November 7, 1987. I kept working, kept saving, kept watching the real estate market like a hawk watches a field mouse. Every time the market dipped, I bought. In 1989, a 2-flat at 68115 South Vernon Avenue for $43,000. In 1994, another lot at 7942 South Essex Avenue for $18,000. In 1998, a 3-unit building at 8156 South Drexel Avenue that needed work but had good bones, $67,000. In 2003, a small house I could rent out at 9234 South Burnside Avenue, $78,000. In 2007, right before the crash, I sold 2 properties and waited. Then, in 2010, when everyone was panicking, when people were losing everything, I bought 3 more properties for a combined $195,000. Everything I built. Property by property, dollar by dollar. William never knew the full extent. He knew I was smart with money. He knew I owned some properties. But he didn't know about all of them. He didn't need to. He died on Tuesday, April 14th, 2015. Aneurysm. Sudden. 1 minute he was fixing the kitchen light at 1847 South Prairie Avenue, our home for 30 years. The next minute he was on the floor and I was screaming his name and the paramedics were telling me there was nothing they could do. I buried him on a Thursday. On Friday, I went to my lawyer's office. By then, I owned 7 properties worth $4.2 million total. Everything I'd worked for. Everything I'd built with my own hands and my own mind and my own determination. I never told my children the full truth. Never told anyone except my attorney, Julian Harper, a black man my age who'd watched me build this empire property by property and never once questioned my right to it. I dressed plain. Drove a 2006 Honda Accord. Lived modest. Let people think I was just another old woman scraping by on Social Security. $1,423 a month. Because my mama taught me something important. When you're a black woman, when you're old, when you're both, people will try to take what's yours. They'll smile while they do it. They'll call it helping. But I learned to stay quiet. Watch everything. Document everything. Use what you see before anyone knows you saw it. I learned what they don't teach in business schools. I learned it in that garment factory. I learned it on those Mississippi dirt roads. I learned it every time a white man counted my money 3 times because he couldn't believe it was mine. Every New Year's Eve, I took stock, assessed, planned. I just never imagined that one New Year's Eve I'd be planning to take down my own son. Thomas brought Savannah Whitmore home on March 12, 2018. "Mom," he said on the phone, his voice nervous and excited like when he was 10 years old showing me his report card. "I want you to meet someone special. I made pot roast, collard greens, cornbread from scratch. Set the table with the good plates, the ones I'd bought at an estate sale in 1995 for $85. They were worth $300 now, but that wasn't why I kept them. I kept them because they reminded me that value isn't always obvious." Savannah walked through my door like she was inspecting a property she planned to condemn. She was beautiful, I'll give her that. Tall, maybe 5'9", polished. Hair laid perfectly in those beach waves white women pay $200 for. Nails done, gel manicure, pale pink, perfect. She wore a cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. She smelled expensive. Not the perfume you buy at Macy's, but the kind you get at those boutiques on Michigan Avenue, where they don't put price tags on anything because if you have to ask, you can't afford it. "Mrs. Menzel," she said, extending her hand. "It's so lovely to finally meet you." Her handshake felt like touching something dead. Cold. Firm enough to seem confident, but no warmth behind it. "Call me Idina," I said, because that's what polite people do. She smiled. "Idina, what a beautiful home you have. So, vintage." Vintage. Like my house, my own house that I'd fought for, was something you'd find in a museum instead of something I'd bled for. We sat down to dinner. Thomas couldn't stop looking at her. Couldn't stop smiling. My boy was gone. Completely gone. And she knew it. "So, Idina," Savannah said, cutting her pot roast into perfect little pieces, each exactly the same size. "Thomas tells me you've lived here for years. Do you own this house?" First red flag. You don't ask about property ownership at a first meeting. Not unless you're calculating something. "I do," I said. This is my house. That's wonderful. She took a sip of water. Real estate in this neighborhood has really appreciated, hasn't it? You must have quite an asset here. It's my home, I said. Of course, another smile. This one didn't reach her eyes. I just mean, you're sitting on a gold mine. Have you ever thought about selling, moving somewhere more manageable? At your age, all this upkeep must be exhausting. At your age, she'd known me for 15 minutes and she was already calculating my expiration date. Thomas jumped in. Mom loves this house, Savannah. She's not going anywhere. Oh, I know, Savannah said quickly. Too quickly. I just worry about her. It's such a big house for one person. I set down my fork slowly, deliberately. I manage just fine. I'm sure you do. She reached across the table and patted my hand, patronizing, like I was a child who needed reassurance. Thomas just talks about you so much. He worries, you know. We both do. They'd been dating for 4 months, and she was already speaking for both of them. After dinner, while Thomas was in the bathroom, Savannah wandered through my living room, touching things, picking up picture frames, running her fingers along the mantel like she was checking for dust. You have so many family photos, she said. It must be hard being here alone with all these memories. I like my memories, I said. Of course you do. She picked up a photo of William taken in 1998 at Navy Pier. Thomas's father was very handsome. I'm so sorry for your loss. It must be difficult managing everything by yourself. The house, the finances, all of it. There it was again. Money, property, management, everything I'd built. She set the photo down. You know, Thomas and I have been talking about the future, about starting our lives together, about family. That's nice, I said. My hands were folded in my lap, steady. We want to make sure everyone's taken care of, she continued, smooth as silk, that there's a plan in place for everyone. A plan, I repeated. For your future, she said. Thomas is your only son. We want to make sure you're protected, that everything you've worked for stays in the family. I smiled. That's thoughtful of you. But what I was thinking was, you've been in my house for 2 hours and you're already counting my assets. I had no idea that within 6 months she'd be doing far worse than counting. They got engaged on June 23rd, 2018. Thomas called me crying, happy crying. Mom, she said yes, we're getting married. I wanted to be happy for him. I wanted to believe that my boy had found someone who loved him for him, and not for what he could give her, but my mama's voice was in my head. Protect what's yours. That's wonderful, baby, I said. I'm happy for you. I wasn't. On September 8th, 2018, Thomas came to me, nervous, twisting his hands the way he used to when he was a boy, asking for something he thought I'd say no to. Mom, I need to ask you something. What is it? Savannah's family. They're going through some financial difficulties. Her parents can't afford the wedding venue we wanted. It's $35,000. I felt my chest tighten. That's a lot of money for a wedding, Thomas. I know. But Mom, she's the one. And I want to give her the wedding she deserves. I'll pay you back, I promise. We'll draw up a contract and everything. I looked at my son, 40 years old, successful civil engineer making $97,000 a year. And he was here begging me for $35,000 for a woman I'd met twice. Benjamin, I said. I still called him by his middle name sometimes when it was just us. Are you sure about this? Please, Mom, I'll pay you back every penny, with interest if you want. I should have said no. I should have listened to the voice screaming in my head. But he was my son, my baby, and he was looking at me with those eyes that used to look up at me from his crib, that used to run to me when he scraped his knee, that used to tell me I was the best mama in the world. All right, I said. But we're doing a contract, in writing. Of course. Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. We never did that contract. and that $35,000 was just the beginning. The wedding was on November 17th, 2018. Big. Expensive. Over 200 people at the Drake Hotel. Savannah wore a dress that probably cost $15,000. Everything was white and gold and dripping with money that wasn't theirs. My money, from everything I'd built. I sat in the front row wearing my best dress, a navy blue suit I'd bought at Nordstrom Rack for $89, and my mama's pearls. I watched my son marry a woman who looked at him the way a shark looks at blood in the water. At the reception, Savannah found me at my table. "Thank you so much for everything, Idina," she said, hugging me. "Performance for the cameras. You've been so generous. We're starting this new chapter thanks to you." New chapter. New beginnings. Fresh start. Out with the old, in with the new. She loved that language. Renewal. Starting over. I should have known she meant me. They moved in on June 15th, 2019. Thomas called on a Tuesday evening, June 11th. "Mom, can we come over and talk?" They showed up that evening with folders. Actual folders with charts and documents and a presentation. Like she was pitching a business deal for my house. My own house. "Idina," Savannah said, sitting on my couch like she already owned it. "We've been thinking. You've been alone in this big house for 4 years now. That's a long time." "I'm fine," I said. "We know you say that," Thomas said. He looked tired. He always looked tired now. "But Mom, what if something happens? What if you fall? What if you need help?" "I'll call 911 like everyone else." Savannah leaned forward. Concerned face. Practiced. "Idina, we want to be here for you. Thomas and I have been talking, and we think it would be best for everyone if we moved in. That way you're not alone. We can help with the house, with everything." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "You want to move into my house." "We want to take care of you," Savannah corrected. "And honestly, it would help us, too. Rent in Lincoln Park is $2,800 a month for a 1-bedroom. We're trying to save for our future. For a family." "It would be temporary," Thomas added. "Just until we get on our feet." Every instinct I had was screaming no. But what was I supposed to say? That I didn't trust his wife? That something about her made my skin crawl? That I'd rather be alone than have them in my space? He was my son. "All right," I said. "Temporarily." Savannah's smile was instant. Bright, victorious. They moved in that weekend. By the second week, my house wasn't mine anymore. Savannah started with the quilts. I had 5 of them, handmade by my grandmother Essie Mae, my mama Loretta, and me. Quilts that had stories sewn into every stitch. The wedding ring pattern from 1952. The log cabin design from 1968. The starburst I'd made in 1991 when Thomas graduated high school. I came home from Jewel-Osco on June 28th with groceries, and they were gone. "Where are my quilts?" I asked. Savannah was rearranging the living room furniture, moving my mama's rocking chair from the corner by the window where it had sat for 30 years. "Oh, those old things? Idina, they were falling apart. I took them to Goodwill on Clybourne Avenue. You should have seen the woman's face. She was so grateful." "Those were my grandmother's quilts." "I know, sweetie." Patronizing, like I was a child who'd lost a toy. But sometimes we have to let go of the past to make room for new beginnings. You understand, right? I understood that she'd just thrown away pieces of my family history like they were trash. "Next time," I said, my voice steady and cold, "ask me first." "Of course," Savannah said. But her smile said she'd do whatever she wanted. The next week, she took over the kitchen, reorganized everything, threw out my cast iron skillet, the one I'd been seasoning for 40 years, because it looked old and crusty. Replaced it with a $97 all-clad pan from Williams-Sonoma that food stuck to. She redecorated the living room, moved furniture without asking, took down family photos, my wedding picture, Thomas and Diana's baby photos, William's military portrait, and replaced them with abstract art from West Elm that cost $349 per piece. I know because I saw the receipt on the counter. Then she took over William's study. I came home on July 19th. I remember the date because it was our wedding anniversary, 35 years if he'd lived, and the room was empty. His books, his desk, his reading chair where he used to fall asleep with the Chicago Tribune on his chest. The smell of his cologne that had somehow lingered for 4 years. Gone. "Where are William's things?" My voice cracked. I couldn't help it. Savannah didn't even look up from her laptop. "In the basement." "Idina, that room was just collecting dust. It's been 4 years. You need to move forward. Let go of the past and embrace new beginnings." New beginnings. She kept saying that. Out with the old, in with the new. That was my husband's space. And now it's my office. She looked up, smiled. "You understand, don't you? We're all living here together now. We all need our space. This house has 4 bedrooms. You don't need all of them." I stood in the doorway of that empty room, walls painted from Williams' deep blue to Savannah's gray. Agreeable Gray by Sherwin-Williams, $263 for 5 gallons, and felt something inside me crack. But what Savannah didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that I don't break. I bend, I crack, I bleed, but I don't break. By August 14th, I was a servant in my own house. Savannah would leave lists on the kitchen counter, printed lists, bullet points. Tuesday, August 13th, 2019. Grocery shopping, list attached. Dinner ready by 6 o'clock p.m. Thomas has been working so hard. Guest bathroom needs cleaning. Laundry, darks and lights separate, please. Like I was the help. "Idina, can you make sure dinner's ready by 6? Savannah would say, not looking up from her phone. "Thomas has been working so hard. He needs a good meal." "Idina, we're having people over Saturday. I'll need you to clean the guest bathroom and maybe make that pot roast. Everyone loved it at Christmas." "Idina, the laundry needs folding." Thomas never said anything. He'd come home exhausted, kiss Savannah, eat the dinner I made, and fall asleep on the couch by 8:30. I started eating my meals alone in my bedroom. It was easier than sitting at my own table being ignored. On August 28th, 2019, at approximately 11:15 p.m., I heard them through the wall. "Your mother's been acting strange," Savannah said. "She's just adjusting," Thomas mumbled, half asleep. "I don't think it's that simple. Have you noticed how she forgets things? How confused she seems sometimes?" I pressed my ear to the wall. 70 years old and pressing my ear to the wall in my own house. "Mom's fine, Savannah." "I'm not so sure." A pause. "Thomas, I think we need to start thinking about long-term plans. Your mother's not getting any younger. She might need professional care soon." "You think Mom needs a nursing home?" "I think we need to be realistic. And we need to make sure everything is handled properly. Her finances, her properties, everything, before things get complicated." My heart was pounding so hard I thought they'd hear it through the wall. Silence. "I just want what's best for her," Savannah said, soft, concerned. "And what's best for us, for our future." I sat back against the wall, breathing, just breathing. They were planning something, and I needed to know what. On September 3rd, 2019, I called Ruby. Ruby Menzel was Thomas's daughter from his first marriage to Patricia. 22 years old, smart, loyal, studying computer science at DePaul University. The only person in my family who still looked at me like I was a person instead of a problem. "Grandma?" she answered on the second ring. "What's wrong?" She could always tell. "Baby, I need your help with something. Can you come over when they're not here?" She came the next morning. Thomas and Savannah were both at work. Thomas at his engineering firm downtown, Savannah at her consulting job that seemed to involve a lot of lunch meetings and very little actual work. I told Ruby everything. The quilts, William's study, the lists, the conversation I'd overheard, everything happening in my own house. Ruby's jaw got tighter with every word. "Grandma," she said when I finished, "that's abuse. She's abusing you in your own house. I know that. So kick them out. It's your house." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because he's my son. Because I love him even though he's letting this happen. Because I'm 70 years old, and the law doesn't always protect old black women who accuse their families of abuse. Because without proof, I'm just a paranoid old lady. So what do you need? Proof, I said. Evidence. Something nobody can deny. Ruby was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone. How do you feel about cameras? We spent the next 3 days researching. Small cameras, hidden cameras, the kind you can't see unless you know where to look. We found a company called Secure Home Plus, ordered 6 cameras, cost $347.63. Ruby paid cash at a 7-Eleven on September 7th, so there'd be no credit card trail. We installed them on September 10th while Thomas and Savannah were at Thomas's company picnic. One in the kitchen, hidden in the smoke detector above the stove. One in the living room in the frame of an abstract painting Savannah had hung. One in the hallway upstairs in another smoke detector. One in William's old study, Savannah's office now, hidden in a decorative vase on the bookshelf. One in the dining room, in the light fixture. One in the master bedroom where Thomas and Savannah slept, tucked into the crown molding. They were tiny, smaller than a quarter, motion-activated, connected to an app on my phone, a phone Savannah didn't know I'd upgraded to because she assumed I was too old to understand smartphones. Are you sure you want to do this? Ruby asked as we tested the last camera. Once you see what's really happening, you can't unsee it. I'm sure, I said. I wasn't, but I needed to know. That first night, September 10th, 2019, at 7:37 p.m., I watched, and what I saw made my hands shake so hard I almost dropped the phone. Savannah waited until Thomas left for his weekly poker game with his college friends. 7:15 p.m. every Tuesday. He'd been doing it for 15 years. At 7:32 p.m., Savannah went into my bedroom. She opened my dresser drawers, read through papers on my nightstand, letters from the bank, statements from Julian Harper's law office. She photographed documents with her phone, my will, my property tax statements, everything. Then she made a phone call. I turned up the volume on my phone, hands trembling. No, she doesn't know, Savannah said, laughing, walking back to the office. Claire, I'm telling you, Idina is clueless. She barely knows how to work her TV remote. Pause, listening to her sister. I'm telling you, this woman is sitting on a fortune, and she's too stupid to even realize it. Thomas says she owns at least 3 properties, maybe more. The house we're in is worth at least $800,000. Easy. And she just sits here doing nothing. My chest tightened. We just need to be patient, Savannah continued. I could see her on the screen, pacing the office, animated, excited. Once we get her declared incompetent, and believe me, that won't be hard, everything transfers to Thomas, and what's Thomas's is mine. She laughed again. The sound made my skin crawl. I know, right? All I had to do was marry her pathetic son and wait for her to die. But honestly, she's taking too long. We might need to speed things up. Pathetic son. She's taking too long. Speed things up. I stopped the recording, set my phone down, stared at the wall. My son's wife was planning to steal everything I'd built, everything I'd worked for, everything I'd bled for. And my son was letting her. I sat there for 20 minutes, not moving, just breathing. Then I picked up my phone, opened a new folder labeled Evidence, and saved the video with the date and time stamp. September 10th, 2019, 7:37 p.m. p.m. Savannah admits plan to declare incompetent and take properties. I was going to document everything, and when I had enough, I was going to destroy them both. Over the next 14 months, from September 2019 to November 2024, I documented everything. Every insult, every phone call, every conversation where Savannah talked about when Idina's gone or once we get control of her properties or she won't last much longer anyway. September 24th, 2019, Savannah on the phone with Claire again. I'm documenting everything, her confusion, her forgetfulness. I've got 3 family members ready to testify that she's losing it. October 17th, 2019. Savannah in the office, reviewing paperwork. Once we establish a pattern of incompetence, the court will have no choice. Power of attorney transfers to Thomas automatically. December 3rd, 2019. Savannah to Thomas in their bedroom. Baby, we're not doing anything wrong. We're just protecting our future. Your mother would want you to have this. March 8th, 2020. Savannah on the phone. The house alone is worth $850,000 now, plus whatever other properties she has hidden. We're talking at least $2 million, Claire. Maybe more. July 22nd, 2020. Savannah to a friend named Jessica at a lunch I overheard through the kitchen camera. Old people are like houses. Eventually, they need to be condemned. And when they are, everything inside becomes yours. I saved it all. Backed it up. Made copies. Gave copies to Ruby. Stored copies in a safety deposit box at Fifth Third Bank. Box number 2847. By November 2024, I had 47 video files, 19 audio recordings, and 63 photographs of documents Savannah had searched through or photographed. But what I discovered on October 15th, 2024, changed everything. On Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, at 9:43 a.m., my attorney Julian Harper called. "Adina, we have a problem," Julian said. His voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the anger underneath. "A serious problem." "What kind of problem?" "Someone tried to transfer 2 of your properties into Thomas and Savannah's names. The documents came through to my office this morning. The 2 flat on South Vernon Avenue and the house on South Burnside Avenue. Combined value, approximately $1.3 million. The room tilted. "What?" "The paperwork has your signature on it. But Adina, I know your signature. I've seen it 1,000 times over 30 years. This isn't it. My properties. Everything I'd built. They forged my signature." "Yes." A pause. "Adina, I need to tell you something else. Savannah came to see me on September 23rd. Alone. She wanted information about your holdings. All of them. She said you'd asked her to handle your affairs, but couldn't remember the details." My hands were trembling. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. I told her that any information about your estate required your direct authorization and physical presence. She wasn't happy. She implied you were becoming forgetful, that maybe I should consider whether you were still competent to manage your own affairs. She tried to get you to declare me incompetent." "She tried," Julian said. "But I've known you for 30 years, Adina. I know exactly how sharp you are. That's why when these forged documents came through, I knew immediately something was wrong. Can you stop the transfer?" "Already done. I've flagged both properties. Nothing can be transferred without you physically present in my office with 2 forms of ID and a witness who isn't family." "But Adina," he paused, "you need to deal with this. If they're willing to forge documents, they're willing to do worse." After I hung up, I sat there. Just sat there, breathing. Then I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. I scrolled through footage from the last few weeks, looking for something specific. I found it on October 12th, 2024 at 2:17 p.m. Savannah in the office, on the phone. "It's done," she said. "I signed the papers this morning. Use the scanner at the library on North Avenue so there's no trail." Pause, listening. "Thomas doesn't need to know the details. He just needs to trust me." And he does. Another pause. "Once the properties transfer, we can start the process of getting her declared incompetent. I've already been documenting everything. Her confusion, her forgetfulness. I've got Helen, Diana, and Thomas's cousin Marcus ready to testify that she's losing it. My daughter Diana, ready to testify against me. Claire, the woman is 70 years old and living alone in a house that's falling apart. Who's going to believe she's competent enough to manage $4.2 million in real estate? The court will give Thomas power of attorney. And once he has that..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. I saved the video, backed it up, sent it to Julian Harper with the subject line. "Evidence of fraud, October 12th, 2024. Then I scrolled back further. Looking for Thomas. I found him on October 1st, 2024. Late night. 11:47 p.m. Thomas and Savannah in their bedroom. "Are you sure about this?" Thomas asked. His voice was uncertain, scared. "Baby, we've been through this." Savannah's voice was patient, patronizing. "Your mother isn't going to last forever, and when she goes, everything goes into probate. It'll be tied up for years. But if we do this now, it feels wrong. What feels wrong is watching her sit on millions while we struggle. What feels wrong is you working yourself to death while she hoards everything. You're her son, Thomas. You deserve this. We deserve this." Everything I'd built, and he thought he deserved it. Silence. "She'll understand eventually," Savannah continued. "We're just starting the next chapter early, that's all." "I don't know." Her voice got sharper. "Do you trust me?" "Of course I do." "Then trust me on this. Your mother will be taken care of. We'll make sure she has everything she needs. But we need to think about our future, our family, the children we want to have. We can't do that living paycheck to paycheck while she sits on a fortune." More silence. Then Thomas said quietly, "Okay, do what you need to do." I stopped the video. My son, my baby boy, the child I'd carried for 9 months, the boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, the man I'd sacrificed everything for. He'd just given his wife permission to rob me. I sat in my bedroom, the small guest room that had become my entire world, and I cried. Not because I was surprised. The cameras had prepared me, but because knowing and seeing are two different things. I cried for 20 minutes. Then I stopped, wiped my face, opened my laptop, and I started planning the rest of my life. A life that no longer included my son. On November 4th, 2024, my daughter Diana called. "Mom, we need to talk." "About what?" "About you." She sighed like I was exhausting her. "Savannah's been telling me some things. She says you've been forgetting stuff, getting confused. She's worried about you." "I'm not confused, Diana." "That's what confused people say, Mom." Her voice was gentle, patient, the way you talk to someone you think is losing their mind. "Look, nobody's saying you're, but maybe it's time to think about making some changes. Downsizing, getting help, making sure everything's organized for the future." "My future is fine." "Is it? Mom, you're 70 years old. You're living alone in that big house. What if something happens? What if you fall?" "What if I'm fine and everyone would leave me alone?" Silence. "Mom, I'm trying to help." "No," I said. "You're trying to make yourself feel better about whatever Savannah's been telling you." She hung up. 2 days later, my niece Helen Brooks showed up unannounced with her husband Carl. "Aunt Idina, we wanted to check on you," Helen said, walking through my house like she was conducting an inspection. "I'm fine." "Are you?" Carl asked. "Because Helen's been hearing some concerning things from family. People who care about you." "From who? Savannah?" "From family," Helen said. Diplomatic. "People who've noticed you've been different lately. Forgetful, distant. Aunt Idina, there's no shame in getting older. But you have to be realistic. You can't keep living like you're 50. I set down my coffee cup slowly. "I'm not confused, Helen. I'm not forgetful. And I'm certainly not incompetent." "Nobody said incompetent," Carl said quickly. "But that's what you're thinking, isn't it? That's what Savannah told you to think." They exchanged a look, the kind of look that said they'd already decided I was losing it. They left 30 minutes later. I knew they'd go right back to Savannah and report. Yes, Aunt Idina is definitely declining. The next week, Diana came by with Savannah. An intervention. "We think it's time to sell the house," Diana said. "No," I said. "Mom, listen." "No." Savannah leaned forward. Concerned face. "Idina, we've been talking to several family members. Everyone agrees that you need more support right now. More structure. Maybe a place where there are people around, where you're not so isolated. You want to put me in a nursing home. We want you to be safe," Diana said. Her eyes were wet. Guilty, but not guilty enough to stop. "I'm safe in my own house." "Are you?" Savannah asked. Soft, dangerous. Idina, you left the stove on twice last week. I hadn't, but she said it so confidently that Diana's eyes went wide. Mom, you could have burned the house down. I didn't leave the stove on. See? Savannah looked at Diana. This is what I'm talking about. She doesn't remember. She thinks she's fine, but she's not. This was it. This was how they were going to do it. Lie, gaslight, get enough people to agree that I was incompetent, then take everything. I think we need to talk about power of attorney, Diana said. Just temporarily, she added quickly, just until things stabilize. Thomas would handle everything. Your finances, your properties, your medical care. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. No, I said. Mom, I said no. Get out of my house. They left, but I heard Savannah in the driveway talking to Diana. She's worse than I thought. We might need to accelerate the timeline. Over the next 2 weeks, 6 more family members called or visited, all with the same message, all speaking the same language, all convinced I was losing my mind. Savannah had built her army, and the only soldier on my side was Ruby. On November 18th, 2024, I called Julian Harper. Julian, I need you to do 3 things. I'm listening. First, I need you to freeze all my properties. No transfers, no sales, no changes of any kind without me physically in your office with 2 forms of ID and a witness who isn't family. Done. Second, I need a new will. I'm disinheriting Thomas and Diana. Everything goes to Ruby, women's empowerment organizations, and my employees Dorothy and Ruth. They've been with me for years. They deserve it. Silence on the other end. Then, Idina, are you sure? That's your son. I've never been more sure of anything. All right, I'll draft it today. Third, I said, I need you to find me a lawyer who specializes in elder abuse and fraud, because on January 2nd, 2025, I'm pressing charges. Julian was quiet for a long moment. You're really doing this? I'm really doing this. Good, he said. It's about damn time. On November 21st, I met with attorney Patricia Cole. She was 52, sharp, no nonsense. She'd built her career defending elderly people from predatory family members. Mrs. Menzel, she said after I'd shown her all the evidence, every video, every recording, every document. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of attempted elder abuse and financial fraud I've ever seen. With this footage, we can press criminal charges. Savannah could face prison time. How much time? With the dollar amounts involved? 2 to 5 years, maybe more. And Thomas? He's complicit, but he didn't actually sign the forged documents. Savannah did. If he cooperates, he might avoid criminal charges. But civilly, he's done. He'll never see a penny of your estate. Good, I said. Patricia looked at me, really looked at me. Mrs. Menzel, I have to ask, are you prepared for what comes next? This is going to destroy your family. My family destroyed itself, I said. I'm just making sure there are consequences. We filed the paperwork on December 20th, 2024, but we didn't serve it yet. We were waiting for New Year's Eve. On December 27th, Savannah announced she was throwing a party. Idina, I've invited the whole family for New Year's Eve, she said, smiling, excited. A big celebration. New year, new beginnings. Everyone's coming. Cousins, aunts, uncles, maybe 40 people. It'll be wonderful. In my house, my own house. That sounds nice, I said. It did sound nice. Perfect, actually. 40 witnesses, all in one place, all about to see exactly who Savannah really was. I spent the next 3 days preparing. I connected the video footage to the living room television, the big 75-inch screen Thomas had bought because he said I needed something easier to see since I was getting old. The screen he said I probably couldn't even work. I tested it twice, made sure everything played correctly, made sure the sound was crystal clear. Julian Harper and Patricia Cole would be there, not as guests, as my legal team. On December 30th, Ruby came over. You ready for this, Grandma? I looked at her. My granddaughter. My only ally. The only one who'd believed me. No, I said honestly, but I'm doing it anyway. She hugged me. You're the strongest person I know. I wasn't strong. I was terrified. But sometimes being terrified and doing it anyway is the same thing as being brave. New Year's Eve morning, I put on my best dress, a burgundy silk dress I'd bought at Nordstrom for $237. Did my hair, put on my mama's pearls, looked at myself in the mirror, 70 years old, ready to reclaim everything I'd built. This is it, baby girl, I whispered to myself, to my mama, to every woman who'd ever been told she was too old, too quiet, too weak to fight back. Let's show them what we're made of. The guests started arriving at 7 p.m. By 9, my living room was packed. 43 people, maybe more. Family I hadn't seen in months. Cousins, nieces, nephews, Diana, Helen and Carl. Savannah's sister Claire, all of them drinking champagne. Veuve Clicquot at $89 a bottle, 6 bottles, $534, and eating food I'd cooked but wouldn't get credit for. In my house. My own house. Savannah floated through the crowd like a hostess at a country club. Gold dress that probably cost $2,000. Hair perfect. Makeup perfect. She looked like someone who'd already won. Who'd already taken everything I'd built. Thomas stood next to her. Tired. Uncomfortable. But there. I stayed in the corner. Quiet. Watching. At 10:30, Savannah clinked her glass. The room went silent. Everyone, can I have your attention? She was glowing, radiant. I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight, for helping us celebrate new beginnings, fresh starts. This past year has been incredible, and next year is going to be even better. She looked at Thomas. He smiled weakly. We have so much to be grateful for. Family, love. She glanced at me. Just for a second. And a bright future ahead. People clapped. Someone whistled. That's when she turned to me. Idina, she said. Sweet, concerned. Performance for the crowd. Sweetheart, maybe you'd be more comfortable upstairs. I know all this noise can be overwhelming. You could watch the ball drop on TV. It'll be quieter up there. The room got quiet. Everyone was looking at me. This party isn't really for someone your age anyway, Savannah added, laughing like it was a joke. You'd probably enjoy it more from your room. Someone in the back, Claire, I think, laughed. Then someone else. Then half the room was chuckling, nodding. Turn on the subtitles for her. Someone yelled. More laughter, louder this time. Diana looked down. Guilty, but she didn't say anything. I stood up slowly. Every eye in the room on me. 70 years old. In my own house. About to reclaim everything I'd built. You're right, Savannah, I said. My voice was calm, steady. Something is going to drop at midnight, but we're all going to watch it together, on this screen. I pointed to the television. Savannah's smile faltered. What are you talking about? I picked up the remote, the one she said I probably couldn't work. You wanted a New Year's celebration. I'm giving you one. A look back at the year we've had. All of us together. Idina, Thomas started. I pressed play. The screen came to life. There was Savannah, in the office, on the phone, September 10th, 2019. No, she doesn't know. Savannah's voice filled the room. Clear. Undeniable. Claire, I'm telling you, Idina is clueless. She barely knows how to work her TV remote. The room went silent. Dead silent. On screen, Savannah laughed. I'm telling you, this woman is sitting on a fortune, and she's too stupid to even realize it. Someone gasped. We just need to be patient, Video Savannah continued. Once we get her declared incompetent, and believe me, that won't be hard, everything transfers to Thomas. And what's Thomas's is mine. She laughed again. I know, right? All I had to do was marry her pathetic son and wait for her to die. But honestly, she's taking too long. We might need to speed things up. Pathetic son. She's taking too long. Speed things up. I heard Claire make a small sound. Choked. Horrified. Thomas's face emptied of all expression. "Idina, sit down," I said to Savannah, not loud, but firm. "You're going to watch all of it." The next clip played. October 12th, 2024. Savannah in the office again. "It's done. I signed the papers this morning. Used the scanner at the library so there's no trail." Patricia Cole stepped forward from where she'd been standing by the door, silent until now. "For those wondering," she said, her voice cutting through the shocked murmurs, "the papers she's referring to are forged property transfer documents attempting to steal $1.3 million in real estate. That's felony fraud." The room erupted. People talking over each other. Shocked. Angry. "That's not," Savannah started. Her face was red. Panicked. "Idina, this is taken out of context." "Context?" I said. "Let's give them context." I played the next clip. Savannah and Thomas. Their bedroom. October 1st. "Are you sure about this?" Thomas's voice asked. "Baby, we've been through this. Your mother isn't going to last forever, and when she goes, everything goes into probate. But if we do this now, it feels wrong. What feels wrong is watching her sit on millions while we struggle." Diana was crying. Others were shouting. "She'll understand eventually. We're just starting the next chapter early." Silence on the recording. Then Thomas's voice. "Okay, do what you need to do." The room exploded. "You tried to rob your own mother?" Helen shouted. "Thomas, what the hell is wrong with you?" someone else yelled. "Let me explain," Thomas tried. "Explain what?" I said. My voice cut through the chaos. "Explain how you let your wife plan to steal everything I worked for. Explain how you gave her permission. Explain how you stood by while she told everyone I was losing my mind so you could take control of my assets. Everything I built, everything I worked for, and you gave her permission." He couldn't. He just stood there, crying, broken. Savannah tried to run, made it 3 steps before Julian Harper blocked the door. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said, calm, professional. "You're not going anywhere." Patricia Cole stepped forward, papers in hand. "Savannah Porter Whitmore," she said, her voice formal now. "These are criminal fraud charges. You're being charged with attempted theft, forgery, and elder abuse. The police have been contacted. They'll be here shortly." Savannah's eyes went wild. "You can't do this." "I can," I said. "And I am." I turned to face the room. 43 faces. Shocked. Horrified. Some angry. Some guilty. "For the past 6 months," I said, "I've been called confused, forgetful, incompetent. I've been told I need help, that I need to move, that I need to give up control of my life and my assets to people who supposedly care about me." I looked at Diana, at Helen, at everyone who doubted me. But I wasn't confused. I was documenting. I was gathering evidence. Because when you're an old black woman, when you're 70 years old and you tell people your family is trying to rob you, nobody believes you. They think you're paranoid. They think you're losing your mind. My voice cracked, just a little. So I made sure there was no room for doubt. The countdown started on TV, the real one from Times Square. 10, 9, 8. "This house is mine," I said. "The properties are mine. The money is mine. Everything I built is mine. I earned it. I built it. And nobody, not my son, not his wife, not anyone, gets to take it from me." 7, 6, 5. "Thomas, Diana, you're both disinherited. You'll receive nothing when I die. Everything goes to Ruby, to charity, and to the people who actually cared about me." 4, 3, 2. "And Savannah." I looked at her. She was crying, mascara running, nothing left of that perfect mask. "You wanted new beginnings. Here's yours." 1. "Happy New Year." The TV erupted in cheers from Times Square. My living room was silent. The police arrived at 12:17 a.m. They took Savannah out in handcuffs. She was screaming, cursing me, calling me every name she could think of. I watched from the window until the police car disappeared. Then I turned back to my family. Most of them had left. Couldn't get out fast enough. Embarrassed. Ashamed. But some stayed. Helen came to me, crying. "Auntie Dina, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you." "You should have," I said, he said. "Not mean, just honest. But you didn't, and I'll remember that." Diana tried to approach. I held up my hand. "Not tonight, Diana. Maybe not ever, but definitely not tonight." Thomas sat on the couch, head in his hands, broken. Part of me wanted to go to him, to comfort him, to mother him. But the bigger part of me knew he'd made his choice, and I'd made mine. Ruby brought me a glass of water. "You did it, Grandma." I had. I'd done it. I'd fought back. I'd won. I'd protected everything I built. So why did I feel so empty? On January 2nd, 2025, Thomas came downstairs. He looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. "Ma," his voice cracked. I was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee. My coffee, in my house. "Say what you need to say," I told him. He sat down across from me. "I'm sorry." 2 words, meaningless. "You're sorry," I repeated. "I didn't know she was going to forge documents. I swear. I thought—" He stopped, started again. "I thought we were just going to talk to you, convince you to sell some properties, give us some money to get started. You thought I'd just hand over my life's work, everything I built. You're my mother." Like that explained everything. Like being his mother meant I owed him everything I'd built. "I was your mother on New Year's Eve, too," I said. "When you let her humiliate me. When you let her tell me to go watch TV upstairs because I didn't belong at a party in my own house." He flinched. "I was your mother when you gave her permission to rob me. When you nodded along while she called me stupid. When you stood by while she tried to get me declared incompetent. Mom, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. But I love you, and I'm asking—" His voice broke. "I'm begging you to forgive me." I looked at my son, really looked at him, saw the little boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street, the teenager who'd been so proud when he got his engineering degree, the man who'd cried at his father's funeral. I also saw the man who'd betrayed me for money, who'd let someone try to steal everything I'd built. "Forgiveness isn't something I owe you because we're blood," I said quietly. "It's something you earn by becoming someone worth forgiving. Apologies without change are just noise, Thomas." "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to leave my house. I want you to rebuild your life somewhere else. I want you to figure out who you are without Savannah telling you. And maybe in a few years, if you've changed, if you've become the man I raised you to be, we can talk about what forgiveness looks like. The will? The will stands. No matter what, you won't inherit a penny from me, not a penny of everything I built. But that's not punishment, Thomas. That's protection. For both of us." He cried, 45 years old and sobbing at my kitchen table. I didn't comfort him, didn't reach across and take his hand, didn't tell him it would be okay. I was done. The moving truck came at noon. Thomas and Savannah, out on bail, her parents had mortgaged their house, packed their things. It took 4 hours. At 4 p.m., the truck pulled away. Thomas stood in the driveway, looking at the house, at me in the window. I didn't wave, didn't smile, just watched until he got in his car and drove away. Then I turned to Ruby. "Help me change the locks." December 31st, 2025. I woke up in my apartment in New York City, Manhattan, Upper West Side, 2 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Times Square. I'd sold the Chicago house in May for $1.8 million. Used the money to buy this place. Used the rest to set up a foundation, the Loretta May Menzel Foundation for Elder Financial Protection. We'd helped 43 elderly women in 7 months. I walked to the window with my coffee. Below, they were setting up for tonight. Barriers, stages, security. By midnight, 1 million people would pack those streets. And I'd watch from right here, No TV needed. At 6 p.m., Ruby arrived. She brought Robert Anderson, the 75-year-old architect I'd met at an art gallery in September, the man who made me laugh, who didn't want anything from me except my company. Julian Harper came at 7, Patricia Cole at 8, Dorothy and Ruth at 9. We spent the evening talking, laughing, eating food we'd ordered in because I was done cooking for crowds. At 11:59, we gathered at the windows. "Should I turn on the TV?" Ruby asked. "For the countdown?" I looked at her, smiled. "Why would we need TV?" I pointed to the window. "The real ball, the real countdown, right there. No screen between us and life." I raised my glass. "Last year," I said, "I was told to go watch the ball drop on TV upstairs because I didn't belong. I was told I was too old, too confused, too irrelevant. That being 70 years old meant I didn't matter." Everyone was listening. Tonight I'm watching the real thing from my own home, surrounded by people who see me, who chose me, who know what I'm worth. My voice caught, just a little. To women who refused to accept the version of reality others tried to sell them. To women who documented their truth. To women who fought back. To women who survived. To women who protected everything they built. "To Adina," Robert said softly. "To Adina," everyone echoed. The countdown started. 10, 9, 8. The crowd below screamed, cheered, celebrated. 7, 6, 5. I looked around the room, at faces that loved me, respected me, chose me. 4, 3, 2. I looked out the window, at the ball descending, at the confetti ready to explode. 1, the ball dropped. Confetti erupted. The crowd roared, and I stood at my window, 71 years old, finally visible, finally seen, finally home. Ruby hugged me. "I'm so proud of you, Grandma." After everyone left, I sat by the window, watched the sunrise over Manhattan, watched sanitation workers sweep confetti, watched the city wake up. I didn't turn on the TV, didn't need it. The real view was right there. I thought about my mama, about those pearls, about her words. Protect what's yours. I'd protected it. Everything I'd built, everything I'd worked for, everything that was mine. And I learned something my mama didn't teach me, something I had to learn for myself. The greatest protection isn't walls or locks or money. It's knowing your worth when everyone else has forgotten it. It's documenting your truth when no one believes it. It's standing up when they expect you to sit down. It's claiming your space when they try to erase you. I'm Adina Menzel. I'm 71 years old, and I'm still here, still breathing, still fighting, still winning. The ball dropped last year for everyone in Times Square, but it dropped for me too. And when it did, I didn't just survive. I soared.